Hi, what's going on out there, y'all? I'm back with another quick little clip for Welcome to the Franchise here. I just want to tap back into some of the, narratives out there about the NBA. Of course, everyone's still talking about the NBA All-Star Weekend, some quotes that were out there, and just some ideas and opinions about how to make it better or, what's going on with the NBA, how they're going to improve, and, if they should keep the format, change the format, or just do things the traditional way how they used to be. So I just want to tap into that right now, and just get into a quick little clip on some of my takes or some of the things I've been hearing and seeing out there, and just a little bit more about what I thought with the NBA All-Star Weekend and what can probably be improved. So with starting off with that, I did see, some people coming up with some ideas and everything. We got Giannis out there talking about for the All-Star Weekend. They should do like a whole world game, world versus the U.S., maybe like 4 teams or some shit like that. And, 1 year it's in Paris, and then another year it's in another part of another foreign country or something. I like where I like where your head is at with the idea and everything. But I'm not sure about that. If the players will want to be on a long flight to another country for All-Star Weekend, but it's a good idea. It's not a bad idea. It's a good idea because it may be something that they need to consider and being like, yo, like y'all gotta wake up. We trying to make this shit entertaining and real, and plus the foreign players they take the shit seriously as far as the pride with where they're from and everything like that, and represent for their country. And also, it wouldn't be bad for those kids to be introduced to some of the U.S. players or be introduced more to the game, on a global level, to see that maybe if they're aspiring to be a star in the NBA or make it to the U.S., take their family there through playing basketball, that, they could see that could really happen there. Other ideas for the All-Star Weekend, like I was saying, the 4 teams thing where they're doing Canada with versus U.S. versus the foreign teams and everything. To be honest with you, I'm on some that shit is clip. Fuck that shit. You either got to take it back to East versus West, or if you want to do the whole world thing and the teams and everything, the world players versus the U.S. players. If you like that idea, just go straight up U.S. versus the foreign teams, because they're talking about 1 team for Canada, 1 team for U.S., or 2 teams for U.S., and then 1 for the foreigners or some shit like that. Fuck all of that. That's too much. 4 teams, you're still going to do that bullshit ass tournament style. What are you going to do? Raise it up to 50 points or 60 points for the game? That shit, I don't think is going to cut it either. On top of the fact that Canada only got like 1 fucking All-Star, and it's SGA. Who we want to see him playing with Dylan Brooks and Kelly Olynyk? No, because they're not All-Star caliber players. We don't want to see that shit on All-Star Weekend. So you might as well just go straight ahead and just do, the U.S. versus the foreigners. Just do it straight like that. I think you're going to see a lot more competitive energy there, a lot more competitive pride in that game if you do just straight up U.S. versus the foreigners and put SGA on that side also. I have him choose, because Canada is technically still North America. You know what I mean? So it's still in this country, but I would let him have the choice in that matter. Like, hey, if you want to go ahead and be like, yo, I'll kill these niggas that's from the States. You know what I mean? Because I'm from Canada. Or be like, well, I ain't from North America. It's part of the country or whatever. So fuck it. I'll rock over here with these players and everything like that versus. So let him make that choice there on that. And then there's some players from the States also that could kind of, make that choice as well. You got Kyrie, who wasn't technically born in the U.S., and you got Cat, who has his roots from the DR. I think there's other players like that possibly that are all-stars that, have that same kind of factor going on, so you let them choose. But I think that would be a better idea. Just have 2 teams for that shit. That tournament shit is out. And then speaking on that, I just became aware that with LeBron James, with the shit that he did voice his opinion that he didn't like the new format. He didn't like it even a little bit. So him doing his, last minute call out shit, like last minute, like, yo, fuck it, I'm not doing this shit. It makes sense now. It really makes sense. He didn't like the format. He didn't want to participate in it. And to be honest with you, if I'm him in that role, I kind of agree with it. I'm the best player. I'm the GOAT of this era and everything like that. I don't want to be a part of something that's going to make, maybe my legacy look goofy, or maybe just how I approach the game and how much I love the game, and also how I've competed in All-Star Weekend games previously before. I don't want to compete or be a part of some silly shit like this, especially in my, my age, my year 40 age year, you know what I'm saying, that I'm competing in the league. Like, I could just rest for this shit. The way that he did it, I don't agree with, and how he did it, I don't agree with. But I could stand with that, so it kind of makes sense. Like, yo, I'm not doing that shit. I'm 40 years old, and I'm the GOAT of this era. Like, nah, I'm not doing it like that. Fuck that. So it do make a little bit of sense there. Now, the other players, their mindset is kind of what's fucking up the All-Star vibes in the game for real. So with this format, they had to try and incorporate it to make them want to care or make them actually want to compete. But I think that this year, if you combine this year with last year and the other years where they were just picking teams, and even that little goofy-ass charity game shit, lump that shit in here too. But trying this new one out here this year, it's already time to pack it up. You got the GOAT of the game who's going to be on his way out, not competing in that shit, saying he don't like it. Then I think they got to after the game, they interviewed some other players. You got a guy like Trae Young talking about, I'm more of a traditional East and West kind of guy, so they need to go to that. And he said that he hated the format this year. And I think that a player like him in this kind of game deserves that voice, because anytime you've seen Trae Young in an All-Star game, he shows up, he entertains the crowd, he gets other players involved, and he tries to put on the show. So I think he should have a say, and it's valid. Like, yeah, take it back to that. I think that Cade Cunningham also said he thought that it should just be two teams now. I'm guessing he didn't like that it was the fourth tournament, and that he was only shown playing for like 2 fucking minutes. Somebody pointed out, I heard that Wemby played only 9 minutes, and you didn't. I feel like we've seen him a good amount, but it would have been nice to see him more. You know what I mean? It would have been nice to see if he could be, if he could have the opportunity to score like 50 points in an All-Star game, a full All-Star game, and rep for the Western Conference, whatever fucking team he would have been on. They want to choose sides and make their own teams and shit. But yeah, it was a few of those players voicing their opinion, talking about going back to East versus West. And I think that, that would be better. But, it's also about the mindset of the players, for real. There's a new wave of stars, it seems like, that lack a little sense of competitive pride a little bit when it comes to the All-Star Weekend. And they care a little bit more about their social media brands than their competitive brand on the court. So I think that is a little bit of a factor that's kind of been, fucking up the vibe of the All-Star Weekend and the competition of it and how it looks and the energy and the vibe that they're bringing to the game. Used to be exciting, used to have a presence to it during the weekend. You knew that weekend was going to be great. You didn't want to go out anywhere. You were going to stay in the house and watch everything from Friday night to Sunday, and, just enjoy that whole shit. But now that energy is basically gone. Like I said, it seems like these players are more, into that off the court brand, or, off the court brand, and they lack a bit of that, competitive pride out there. And then I'll say this also, with this narrative that's still going around about, or people like to point it out there, but is worrying about injury or getting hurt. That shit is an old ass, tired ass cop out. Like, we heard shit like that, like, what, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Totally different sport, but you hear it a lot with football, and that's why now they're going back to flag and shit. But let's switch it back to the NBA. Like, let's be fucking real. Has anyone ever gotten seriously injured in the NBA All-Star game? Has anybody? I can't remember to my knowledge, and I could be wrong. Somebody could probably point it out for me. But have we ever seen an NBA All-Star game in the last 10 years plus where someone blew out their knee. They had a serious ankle sprain that put them down for the remainder of the season or some shit, where they broke their hand, maybe a little thumb injury or something like that, but they had to play through it, and maybe it would have been a factor it was a factor to the playoffs for them. But have we seen anything serious? Like, the only thing one thing I remember was when Kobe last played, he got hit in his face bad. He had a bloody nose, it looked like his nose was broken on camera, and he still played through the rest of it, But I feel like that point and pointing that out is it's old and it's tired. It's bullshit. Niggas need to move on with that shit. What are we talking about here? Because these guys are not playing against each other to hurt each other. Although I did notice during the weekend too what I was seeing, and I saw it start in the Rising Stars games. Just because we want to see them compete and play harder doesn't mean we want them to get hurt also. I seen some plays where motherfuckers was trying to go to the lane or whatever, and niggas was dead just pushing niggas in they back when they was about to go up for a dunk or a layup or an alley, and no foul was called or nothing. And they were holding their hands up like, yo, I'm getting fouled here. You ain't going to call that? Like, yeah, we don't want to see a bunch of fouls and niggas going through the free throw line the whole time also. But, no one's trying to hurt anybody out there. And that goes to one of my previous videos I made where it's like there's no showmanship, especially in the younger generation. These younger kids, I don't think they really know what showmanship is and what it means to put on a show. They just know, go play basketball out there and let me try and not even get a bucket, just shoot. You know what I'm saying? Let me just do my couple of passes, my couple of dribbles, and just shoot. But that's just a quick little sidebar. I just want to say on that real quick, I don't think I can remember anyone getting seriously injured in the All-Star game. So that reason and that factor is a bullshit ass cop out, and it's tired. Now there's also another narrative and some questions going on out there about, is the game in a good place right now? And I'll say this just as a fan, observing it the last few years and watching. The game, I think, is in a good place as far as you got new international talent that's come through the league, and they're able to be stars and everything, and not just being, a role player who could just shoot threes. I remember there was a time when there was a bunch of foreign players coming through the league all the time, but they were really just known for a finesse game. They came off the bench, or they were a starter. They played the 3 or the 2, or the 3, 4, to 5 actually mainly. And they could just shoot threes. They had a nice little finesse game. They could pass the ball. They were more like a role player, and they could just shoot threes. So I think the game's in a good place where it's gotten better, where a lot of foreign motherfuckers is like, they stars now. They stars. They could do everything. They could cross niggas up. They could dunk. And they still have their finesse game where they could do everything. They could be walking triple doubles. They could shoot the 3. They could shoot in your face. They could talk shit back. They got tough mindsets and everything. They'll go in the paint, all of that. They'll be leaders of the team. They'll take pride. They'll have competitive pride as a part of of how they want to play on the floor. And there was a time, I feel like, when you saw foreign players come in and you was not expecting that from them. Now, when you see players from other countries and everything like that, you kind of got to expect that. So I think the league is in a good place as far as that. And to piggyback off of that as well is that I am seeing, even though I have complained about it a bit, you're seeing no-name guys you don't know, or, these bags of chips guys, like, they actually have a real chance of being able to make it in the league now as a role player or being a good starter, and they have a chance to really make it in the league and show what they got outside of being a lotto pick or being a draft pick. You get to see them really grind going, from maybe team to team for a while until they find a home, or they go from team to team and now people want to sign them. There's other teams that want to sign them because for a role, they know what they bring to the table. So I think the game has gotten better as far as that. You're seeing undrafted guys or guys that played overseas or guys that you remember from college, but then you didn't see them get drafted, or they got drafted late. You don't know what happened to them, and then they pop up being good role players or good professionals or good starters in the league. They're not necessarily stars and everything. They weren't lotto picks. They weren't motherfuckers that were the biggest stars while they were in college, but they carved out a role for themselves to stay in the league. So I think that's where the game is in a good place right now. As far as it being where it's bad right now, the game is definitely in a bad place because of, all the bullshit load management, the last minute no call, no shows, that game time decision, like, oh, you getting ready to watch the game and shit, and then next thing they don't let you know hours before. They don't let you know 2 days before, a week before. They let you know now an hour or 30 minutes until tip off. That shit is bad for the game. It doesn't get you excited about wanting to watch certain games. You feel a little bit tricked and finessed. So the games are definitely in a bad place because of that shit. Everyone playing the same kind of fucking styles, just 3-point chucking all the time. It seems like everyone has the same identity of how they want to approach every game. That's also what's making the game bad. And then on top of that is no competitive urgency. I don't really see in a lot of the games there's any competitive urgency. There's no like, yo, we gotta have it. We gotta get this game. We gotta get this game. Okay, the next game we gotta get this game. Okay, next game we gotta get. Okay, next game we gotta stay on this streak. We gotta stay on this streak. You only see about maybe 2 to 4 teams that actually do that, even when they play good teams, great teams in the league, as opposed to just beating up on the bottom feeders of the league and shit. So there's no competitive urgency. And then my last point would be that ties into that is the season is too fucking long. I think now is the time. It's 2025 now. We're going 2025 and beyond. Times are changing. People's mindsets of how they want to watch the game, approach the game, and be fans of the game are changing. So many other things are changing outside of just sports. It's the season's too long now. Now it's time to innovate and find a way. I know they're doing this shit with the play-in and all that, whatever, but I forgot that shit even happened this year again. Did it happen this year again? I fucking forgot. I forgot who even won. I don't care. The season is too long now, and that ties into competitive urgency that has these motherfuckers being like, yo, I could take 30 games off so that the second half, the next 50 and shit like that, I'm going to turn up. That's not good for the game. So I think that's where the game is in a bad place right there, and they should tighten that shit up really, really soon, or find a way to make it more innovative. I don't know, but shortening the season and finding a way where it's a sweet balance between it being urgent for the players to be competitive, like, yo, we got to get this win, and having the fans tune in and be like, oh, all right, like, I got to watch now basketball because we got to make sure my team makes it in the playoffs, so they got a good record. Or we got to see who's really playing hard, who's really playing to win, and taking this shit seriously to compete for a championship. So those are my points right there real quick on this clip. That'll wrap it up for me here. Welcome to the franchise. Y'all out there, be easy.